大怪盗アルセーヌ・ルパンが残した不思議な宝物ルパンコレクションがギャングラーに奪われた。失ったものを取り戻すために戦う怪盗、世界の平和を守るために戦う警察、君はどっちを応援する？
Hello and welcome to LupinRecap vs. PatReview, the podcast that's stirring up a storm. I am your host, Lukamasi. With me is my lovely co-host, Fafnir Masamune.
What's up, folks? It's your girl who's watching the end of Lupat and also the end of Iconoclast, so now I'm just real sad all the time. When's Pokemon?
And that's right, we're a Lupin Ranger vs. Pat Ranger recap and review podcast. Today we're looking at episode 49. Before that, we have a discussion prompt that was given by you, honey.
Indeed.
Because it's the only thing I do for this show, and even I couldn't do it for 51 episodes.
To be fair, I did have a good idea that fit well with the theme of today's episode. So, romanticization. It is basically just, hey, what's this concept? We're gonna adapt that and make it either better than it actually is or just more interesting. Romanticization in general, I think, is, like, most people would probably immediately think of, like, knight romances, because knights actually kind of sucked ass in real life. They just protected the upper class, but, you know, in stories, like, consistently, you're always going to see knights going on adventures and, you know, having actual romances and the love romance, but, yeah.
Yeah, and, like, chivalry itself has been, like, completely changed from what it actually was.
Oh, yeah. Romanticized to hell.
God, I forget the exact numbers, but, like, chivalry has 1 rule on being nice to women and 60 rules on what to do with a mace. Mm-hmm. Something like that.
Yeah, so... But it is more than just knights. In fact, it's... While the word itself I don't think is really used that much, it's a pretty common writing tactic. Like, look at any medical drama or courtroom drama. Really any kind of drama is just going to say, that thing's kind of boring, let's spice it up. You could say that just about any sports anime is a romanticization. It's not hard to argue.
This might be a weird take on this, but even things that don't exist in real life can be romanticized. Because when you were talking about this, my first example was, my first thought was about superheroes. Mm-hmm. And how the idea of, oh, this character is super strong so that they can do whatever they want can be really, really bad. Mm-hmm. If it's not viewed through a kind of lens of, like, okay, we know that in real life this sort of person would be a nightmare, but I just wanted to write a comic book.
Yeah, and I think an important distinction is that it's not idealization. It's like idealization is sort of a little bit of an aspect of it, but again, more interesting is also an aspect of romanticization, so you've got that. But I think that's important just because romanticization can critique things. It's not just all fluff and whatnots. Like Phoenix Wright. I'd say that's romanticization of the courtroom. It is very much not at all like real court stuff, but that's the first damn thing anybody thinks of if they're not an actual lawyer thinking of law.
Yeah. And it absolutely has some things to say about the Japanese court system. Mm-hmm. At least the first game. It is here to make fun of Phoenix and to make fun of the Japanese court system.
But, I would like to mention that romanticization is an A-okay thing, because sometimes it's good to be able to just take a concept that might suck ass in real life and make it good in fiction. For example, this show, cops and robbers, both kind of bad, but both are heavily romanticized.
Yeah. We addressed this way back in, like, the first episode. Mm-hmm. I think I even said, like, people aren't going to get mad at me for liking thieves quite as much, and I understand. I get it. I get it. But the thing is, I'm not cool with either of these groups in real life for the most part.
Yeah, I don't want to get mugged and cops suck.
Yeah, I don't want to get mugged. I understand why some people feel like they have to steal. If anything, I'm more sympathetic to thieves in real life, but...
Yeah. There's a process that leads to theft. Still don't want to get mugged.
Yeah. So I know you have an example, and I don't know how long that rant is going to be.
It shouldn't be too long. Though, as a quick aside, since we're on the cop subject, man, I kind of like Japanese romanticization of cops better than American, just because loose cannon cops, definitely a romanticization. It's still not good. It's romanticizing the shitty aspects, like precisely the problem with cops.
So we mentioned Phoenix Wright earlier, and one of the things that bugs me about people criticizing Phoenix Wright is that they don't understand that it is a Japanese court system.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's no jury. Back when Phoenix Wright first came out, there were people complaining about how everything was a bench trial, and like, well, that's because the game was made in Japan. That's how Japan works.
Yeah.
So, I don't know what the situation is with cops in Japan.
Oh, it sucks.
Okay. Like, yeah, I figure it's like, cops are all bad everywhere, but I don't know if it's as bad. I don't want to assume that it's as bad in Japan as it is in the US.
It's different, but bad. Actually, the Persona 5 LP that was on LP Zone, there was one update where it's like, yeah, it kind of sucks that Makoto wants to be a cop, and I don't know how cops are in Japan. And then, like, next update that it was relevant, people must have talked about it in the thread on SA or whatever, because next update, they had some things to say.
Yeah. Yeah, the main thing about it is like, I just don't want to assume that it's the same everywhere, but it's not American cops are bastards, it's all cops are bastards, so
Yep.
Maybe I should have assumed that all means all. But anyways.
But yeah, I will wrap up my part of the discussion with the part that I basically got into romanticization as a topic for this episode for the sake of, because I'm predictable. 3 house spoilers.
Line them up, honey.
I know empires suck IRL. They always have, they always will. It's A-okay, though, to have a storyline where, you know, maybe it's a little morally dubious, but the Empire does overall want positive change for the world. It's fine, you know, obviously, war, bad. But, you know what? Edelgard has goals, and while she is the one to get her hands dirty by starting a war, you know, maybe it's fine in the story that will inevitably be about war to like the character who does have good motivations of wanting to help the continent. And hey, maybe the internet going, what do you mean white supremacists are fascist? That's not true, to Edelgard definitely fascist. Maybe nobody knows what they're talking about, just saying.
The whole interplay of fiction and reality is actually way more complicated than a lot of people are willing to give it credit for.
Uh-huh.
Because a lot of people are either, you have to treat fiction as one-to-one with reality, and a lot of people are, fiction has no bearing on reality whatsoever, and it's like, what the fuck? Why do you not understand?
Yeah, so I really like Fire Emblem. I don't like actual war.
Yeah, I really dislike fiction horoscopes, or fandom horoscopes, perhaps I should say.
Mm-hmm.
Like, remember Metal Gear Solid 1 where Psycho Mantis read your memory card and just mentioned that you probably like those type of games? Mm-hmm. What if instead it was like, you like to play Castlevania, you probably beat your wife. So I think that sometimes people put too much stock in what people are fans of, but I understand, like, you have to start somewhere.
Yeah.
And, like, there's a difference between, like, Dirty Harry being a fascist character and saying that everyone who likes that movie is a fascist.
Yeah.
But now that we talked about fiction...
Real quick.
Go ahead.
One more thing. please understand what actual fascism is so you can understand it in the world, because it is real bad. However, Edelgard, not fascist. I'm just saying, literally, is fine only taking over Fodlan and killing the Pope with the military. There are parts where she says, I'm not going to take over stuff outside of Fodlan. She's actually really sympathetic to Brigid. And there is a side mission where you fight Elmira, but afterwards she's like, yeah, I'm fine making treaties with them. They're probably reasonable. We don't need to fight them that much. So, yeah, extremely not fascist in the slightest. And also, quite frankly, if your critique is, oh, she's an emperor, though, then you can't like Dimitri either. Can you name a good fucking king? I don't think so. Hey, look at Claude. He's all for democracy. Hey, you're living in 2019, right? Fucking how's democracy going?
Well, since we've already decided this is going to be the most problematic opening we've ever had, I will put the problematic cherry on top and talk about romanticization of a real specific historical figure, specifically Oda Nobunaga. Now, since, as I've said, we're already being problematic, I will say Oda Nobunaga is one of my heroes. I understand. Awful human being. Did some really fucked up shit. But at the core of what he did, he was a person born into privilege, born into a system that privileged him over others, and decided to use that privilege to destroy that system.
And much like Edelgard, the point many people will bring up involves fire.
Yeah, well, even that, like, speaking of, like, not treating every country the same, my dumb American ass would thought of, like, Buddhists the way I would think of a Buddhist in America. By the way, we're referring to the Nobunaga burning down Buddhist temples. But Buddhism in Japan was a major political force, and what was happening were these temples were sending out armies to attack Nobunaga's forces, and then hiding in the temples being like, oh, you can't attack us, we're on holy ground. And Nobunaga said, fuck your holy ground. It would be like Protestant militias running out of churches to attack the United States military and then running back, in which case, yeah, fuck them. They declared war. You can't just go, oh, I'm sorry, my bad, to war.
So maybe not quite the equivalent.
Yeah, it's complicated. I mean, if you just want to say, hey, murdering people en masse is bad, like, you're right, I get it. But like, you can't even say that Nobunaga, well, he just implemented a system that benefited him, because that system killed him. Before he was even done. Through that system, he promoted a general that killed him.
God, now that you're saying it out loud, fuck, there's a lot of parallels between Nobunaga and Edelgard, which isn't a huge surprise to me, honestly, because it's Nobunaga.
Yeah, he kind of left an impression on the people of Japan. Nobunaga, like, is also weird because, you know, for centuries he was famous as, you know, the Demon King Nobunaga, and he was always vilified. But now he's getting more heroic portrayals, and I kind of love it. Even though, like, I understand why some people might be apprehensive about that. This whole opening is getting cut out. I can't put this on the internet. Tumblr will eat us alive.
Don't worry. Yahoo's murdering Tumblr. They've for once, Yahoo has somebody's back, and oddly enough, it's ours. It's just us and Griffin McElroy because they refuse to kill Yahoo Answers. So
right.
Anyway.
Well, I think I'm done.
Yeah, so... Episode 49, huh? As a thief, as a policeman. Now that the Lupin Rangers' identities have been revealed, we begin today at Jure, sans the Jure trio. The police are raiding it, of course. There's a crowd gathered in front of the building, of course. The tactical unit has arrived only to find everything in the restaurant has been cleaned. If it wasn't nailed down, it's gone. And for Tuma's sake, they probably took the kitchen sink as well.
No, I can't abandon it.
The water pressure on this thing is perfect. We need it. But Tuma, that's really got more to do with the building's plumbing. I don't care. Tsukasa figures they must have had additional help, though of course she can't skip straight to Magic Old Man yet, so that theory is incomplete. Kaitro asks who owns the place, and the investigator in charge says that they're still looking into it, but Jure was connected to a shell company operating in France.
Cypher's favorite tactic, of course.
I can't believe the Lupin family is connected to Cypher.
But have you ever heard of Arsène Lupin?
Just Miller getting really mad about the Lupin family. Snake, watch out for Noel. You have to kill him before he backflips out of here. He'll cause us trouble later with his cool moves.
Keiichiro and Miller side by side screaming at the Lupin Rangers.
That's the crossover we need.
Damn phantom thieves! Orore Kaito!
Saki asks where Umika and the others are, but nobody's got answers. Tsukasa and Saki move to leave, but Kaitro says he won't return to HQ yet because he needs to cool off first. As usual, I'd just like to mention, really good how Kaitro still has anger issues, but he just deals with them better.
Yeah.
It's really, it's actually pretty well portrayed.
It's weird, isn't it? Fiction normally doesn't do this.
Yeah, oh man, he's actually taking steps to better himself. Whoa.
Normally,
but also
if you're
the problem still exists.
If you're a character with anger problems in fiction, you are just all mad all the time.
All your sentences will be in caps. You cannot stop it.
You might get a joke episode where you try to calm down. It's just you, drinking tea and pretending to meditate for 20 minutes, while increasingly awful shit happens around you. But no, Keiichiro's completely different from how he was at the beginning, and I don't even know when that happened.
Yeah, I kind of want to, rewatch some of the earlier episodes for that, and also to see the Ganglars gathered at the beginning to see who I recognize.
You just see, Penguino sitting there and a couple of Podemen come over and ask him to leave.
Never would have noticed that on my first viewing. Elsewhere, in a manor located in who knows whereville, the gang's watching the news report on having their identities exposed. Or at least two of them. Kairi and Tuma are shown, but Umika is a minor, so they aren't showing her.
Except she isn't. She turned 19 during the show.
I don't know, maybe it's just different in Japan? Is it 20 or something? Is that the age?
Maybe. I think you came to the theory that Sakia did that.
Yeah, that would also work.
Saki just lied about Umika being a minor, therefore we cannot reveal her identity.
Yeah. Oh, would be kind of nice if it were, pre-20. That's actually kind of nice to teens who are notorious for doing stupid shit.
Yeah.
Possibly crimes. But anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Gonna stop musing on a system I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure Umika's parents have figured it out by now, though. That stream's gonna be uploaded somewhere. Kairi says that it feels like they're legit fugitives now, so he is enjoying this.
God. I'm gonna go into this more later, but it's weird how into being a piece of shit Kairi is.
Noelle walks in with groceries, commenting on the fact that the global police are trying to keep a tight lid on the situation. Kogure tells him to try and avoid working against the team, considering he's lucky enough to stay with the cops in the first place. Kairi then asks what's going on with Degranio's safe, so we're going to learn about it now. Since it's a status gold protection, that means there's chains in front of it, right? No. The safe itself is actually an infinite void, which can store every collection piece within itself. So it's a very good thing that Degranio thought he wanted to retire at the start of the show, or this would have been 51 episodes of him raising the Earth.
I remember last episode you mentioned something about, Degranio has the piece that steals other people's collection pieces, and I didn't say anything.
He's got that and so much more.
I was going to say, what you said is probably right. He probably does have that piece. But you're kind of implying it's his only piece, and haha.
Yep, I did not know better. So anyway, the rest of the collection piece is probably within Degranio at this point. And Umika mentions that if they can beat Degranio, then they're done. But that's the problem in of itself. Most Ganglars are limited in how many collection pieces they can use based on the number of safes they have. Not Degranio, he can just use any of the pieces stored within him. Kairi seems comparatively unconcerned, though, and decides to go scope things out. Incognito. And of course, as per Lupin tradition, it's not a good disguise.
He would be better off walking around in his Lupin disguise.
Back in hell, Zamigo tells Degranio not to play with his toys, because he does still want to fight the Lupins. Degranio just takes his words from earlier about having to be crazy to want to be the boss, pulls Amigo in by the collar, and tells him he doesn't give a fuck about what the youth wants anymore. He also mentions that he's 1,000 years old, and although not a common term, given nothing lives to 1,000 in real life, it does mean that you could call Degranio a millennial.
I'm upset.
Anyway, Degranio's just going to raise as much hell as he wants until he's satisfied. Even still, Zamigo isn't deterred. He's not even going to let Degranio be the one to kill Lupin Red, no matter what. Degranio will concede at least that. And with that, the intro plays. We return to the police HQ, where Jim has not found the Lupins. Noelle walks in and asks if there's been any Ganglar activities, but of course, everybody's got a lot of questions for him. Sakya fucking grabs him by the collar and asks if he knew about the Phantom Thieves' identities, and that if he knew, then why he didn't help them get along. Noelle tells him that he did want them to get along. Noelle reiterates that he wants to help both groups because he wants both of them to accomplish their goals, and that all of them are his friends. He then asks Jim to look into what Degranio and Zamigo are doing, to which Jim asks if it's related to the other matter. This is news to Noelle. Elsewhere at the park, Kaitro is about to throw an empty can into the trash, but Kairi, who's been waiting for this callback, tells him that he'll miss. God, it's been wild. I almost forgot about that scene, which stuck out in my mind so much during the beginning episodes.
Yeah, I'm gonna assume that's why I didn't hear you immediately start sobbing. As soon as they start calling back to the first episode, it's like, oh no.
Oh no, I recognized it.
Okay.
Kaitro looks over to a nearby table to see Kairi. He asks why he would seek him out, and Kairi says figures he'd want to chat. Kaitro says that he could just slap cuffs on him right now, but Kairi knows that he won't. Kaitro talks about finally understanding Lupin Red's strange trust in him. He asks if Kairi's smile was just partially sincere. And shout out to him in this scene because God, the look on his face just killed me.
Oh, Kosei.
Kosei Yuki's a very good actor. Kairi approaches Kaitro and shouts at him for not having anything more to say, for not being angrier. Kaitro shoves him out of his face and tells him that he is angry at how useless he's been, and that if he'd just been a more trustworthy officer, he could have been more useful to Kairi and the others when they were suffering. Kairi turns and tells him that it doesn't matter what kind of cop he is. They're just people who can't trust the cops, and they become phantom thieves. As he walks away, Kaitro yells after him, telling him that he just wants to help, before his brothers and the others are turned into disguises. The music stops, and Kairi turns around. This news is broken to both Kairi and Noelle at the same time. Tsukasa apologizes for keeping the information from Noelle, but Noelle knows something they don't know, and it's the fact that Zamigo is behind the mass disappearances. Back at the hideout, Kairi is relaying what he learned from Kaitro to the rest of the group. Umika immediately breaks into denial, whereas Tuma realizes that he recognized Tokigeli's face, as his was one of the people who had been frozen near Aya. Nobody deals well with the idea that their loved ones are dead. And as usual, Umika's the one to drop to her knees, the other two just look really heartbroken. Back in town, DeGranio's here. Everyone despair. He decides
God, it just keeps getting worse.
He decides to shake off his rust by going kaiju right off the bat and blowing up his immediate surroundings. Some pretty good mood whiplash. Just, hey, you're really sad, right? Here's DeGranio. Everyone around here's dead now. The Manor trio rush out to see the destruction from afar, and Gunstriker wanders in to freak out about DeGranio being there. Kyrie reasons that, given the situation, beating Zamigo may not bring their loved ones back, so it's back to the get the collection plan. We cut back to DeGranio, who has already turned the immediate area to ruins. The Lupin Zords fly by, only to be hit by an electric collection power, so they quickly combine into the Lupin Kaiser. They get up close and personal with DeGranio and try to cut his chains, only to find they can't. DeGranio says that not even he can break his own chains, before using various collection pieces to levitate earthen spikes, set them on fire, and launch them at the Lupin Kaiser. Zamigo saunters in on a nearby building, acknowledges that DeGranio is feeling frisky, but remains determined to be the one to fight the Lupins. So, in the midst of the fight, the Kaiser looks around and sees 3 chunks of ice nearby, containing the Manor Trio's loved ones. Everyone is uneasy, if a little relieved that their loved ones aren't dead. Blue, though, realizes that can only mean that Zamigo knows them. Zamigo's shit-eating grin more or less confirms this. DeGranio then decides to just blast the Kaiser down, but X steps in with his Emperor just in time. Gunner, however, does little to DeGranio's shield, which reflects his bullets. We also see the tactical unit arrive nearby, but they don't have a robot, so they don't get to do stuff yet. And while X fights on, the Lupins get distracted by the suddenly missing Zamigo and his entourage of frozen humans. They're distracted enough that they don't help X all that much as he flips the Emperor and attempts to use his special move. However, DeGranio uses yet another collection piece. But unlike his green shield, this one's a mirror that just reflects X's attack energy, sending it into a number of other angled mirrors, and sending it back into him. With 2 useless mechs, DeGranio decides he's done here, and that he also wants to give the Lupin Kaiser its first loss. So, yet another combination of collection powers has him create a black hole, which he combines with several other attacks, until it rises, turns into Ozma, and nukes the city. Not far away, the tactical unit braces themselves on the other side of their car. When the explosion is done, they peek out over their now ruined car to see miles of wreckage. DeGranio lowers the barrier he made, and figures he's done for the day. He leaves the ruins, and the audience just has to deal with that for a commercial break.
God, I really just like the whole, well, I'm tired. See ya.
Yeah, so, remember when Destra destroyed half the city? Thought that was bad? This one's worse.
DeGranio got the other half.
Yeah, so...
Remember we joked about this back in episode 14 or 15?
Not particularly, no.
Like, one day DeGranio's just gonna walk in, everyone's fucked.
And it turns out that was true.
Yeah.
Just walked in, did some shit, and left.
Mm-hmm.
And most of Japan is just now dead. Everyone's in Silent Hill now. We cut back to the ruins where Kyrie is next to his bloody disguise hat. He struggles back to his feet and searches for his friends. After some time, Kyrie makes it back to the manor, smacks his bloody hand into the door, and collapses into the foyer. Kogure rushes over to him, and when Kyrie asks, he tells him that Tuma and Umika were taken in by the cops unconscious. At the hospital, we find that neither of them have woken up yet. Saki enters to meet Tsukasa, who's been monitoring Umika and Tuma. Sakia mentions that their gear's been stored in the office. Noelle hasn't said anything yet, and Kaitro's gone to look for Kairi. And when, of course, we get a cut to that, Kaitro's fucking tragic. They're just determined to make this the episode where Kaitro rips her heart out.
Time for Kosayuki to secure whatever he's doing after Lupin.
Yep. Sakia muses about how Umika must have been so scared, but Tsukasa mentions that there was something she wanted to get back which helped push her to become a phantom thief. Back at the manor, Kairi is being bandaged by Kogure, but has the sudden realization that he's still there. So he gets up, interrupts his bandaging, and slams down several painkillers and some water as Kogure begs him to sit down. But Kairi remembers his vow and says that even if he dies, he's going to get them back. Elsewhere, Kaitro finds Kairi's bloody hat and realizes he must have run away while injured. On some rooftop, Kairi searches for Zamigo. The two rush about randomly until Kairi damn near falls over, leaning on a railing just to stay up. Kaitro finds him and tries to support him, and tells him that it's insane to go after Zamigo in his state. Kairi jokes that he doesn't exactly have Tuma and Umika to help him, given, they got taken in. But Kaitro tells Kairi that he still has him. Kairi reminds him of that one time he said that people were wrong the moment they became phantom thieves. But Kaitro tells him that he became an officer to help people in pain, and if his position as an officer prevented him from helping Kairi, he'd turn in his badge. Kairi turns towards him, but just as the sun rises, giant Potamen appear and start attacking the town. Kairi gives Kaitro a playful shove and tells him he should go take care of it. He then says he can't be Kaitro, and Kaitro can't be him. Kairi leaves, and Kaitro lets out an anguished yell before running off to save the day. At the hospital, Tsukasa and Sakia are informed of the incident, so they go off to join in the battle as well. We then cut over to some fancy theater where Zamigo's making his own ambience with his iconic whistle. Red enters, and Zamigo's excited for their meeting. Red asks where the ice is, and Zamigo knows exactly what he's talking about, and what their relationships are to their respective Lupins. Zamigo then says that he wondered why the Lupin Rangers hated him so much, and looked over the memories of the people who he had frozen, a thing that he's able to do when he touches the ice.
Yeah, he just always do that. It just wasn't important until now.
Zamigo then says that Red should relax, because they're not disguises. Not until tomorrow morning, at least. And so, since Zamigo wants to kill Red before Degranio does, they both ready themselves for a fight. They transform, accompanied by a cool effect where a chunk of ice that Zamigo throws obscures one of them transforming while reflecting the other. It's neat, okay?
Yep, I really like that effect.
They stare each other down, and once the ice hits the floor, they rush at each other. And just as soon as they come to blows, the episode ends. Okay, well then. There's no real Ganglar to talk about since they're both that large, one of them more so than the other. So where do we start?
Well, I did have the note to talk about Degranio, but I feel like we covered everything.
Yeah.
He's scary as shit.
Yeah, so, you thought he was threatening enough back when he used 1% of his power, halfway through the show, when he was still bored by everything. Let's just reestablish him as a threat.
Yeah, it's interesting because, the stakes haven't really been, gradually getting higher. They just sort of spike up every now and then.
Mm-hmm.
And this is just... There's been so many spikes in the past few episodes.
Yeah, and this is kind of just the big one, because now both groups are pretty much caught up with everything that's been going on. So the Lupins know about the disguises now. So now they know that they only have a limited time before their loved ones are killed. And Zamigo says he'll make them into disguises. There's no real point to it functionally, because, like, who's left other than him and DeGranio?
Just
Like,
a sea of ganglars we haven't met yet.
he's just gonna put their loved ones on some Podamen just to fuck with them.
I don't even think Podamen can use disguises.
They've never tried, but I can't imagine they'd be very effective. Oh, hey, look, there's a perfectly ordinary person. Chaka chaka? Fucking shoot somebody.
I do want to talk about Kairi and Keiichiro's first scene together in this episode.
They're all good, but yeah, start with the first.
Yeah. This is sort of where Kairi's characterization comes to a head. In that he just flat out tells Keiichiro, like, you have to be mean to me. I hate when people, like, just let my shittiness slide. You have to yell at me.
And Keiichiro's just like, no. No, won't.
Yeah, because, like, Kairi freaked out so much when Keiichiro said, like, you were in the wrong the moment you became a phantom thief. But it also feels like that's the first time Kairi had really been told anything like that. Like, it was the first time somebody had treated Kairi the way he thinks he should be treated.
To be fair, he was kind of into it, because, like, afterwards, there was that battle where he was like, hey, it's Ichigo. Hey, you want to fight me? You want to fight me? Come on, let's duel.
Yeah, and at the time we thought it was because that, he won last time and he was being an asshole, but now I think it might be because, like, Ichigo was actually, like, doing what he wanted to an extent.
Hell yeah, I got myself a rival. Got myself a paperclip voice.
And yeah, I don't think the show spends enough time on it given how long the show is. But super glad that they just flat out say, like, not everyone can trust the police.
Yep.
They don't go all the way and say no one should, but...
Yeah, like, we're not gonna get that. That show, unfortunately, won't air.
Yeah, that's gonna be Lupin Rangers versus Pat Rangers, the edgy web series. It's not for children, it has no toys.
I mean, the entire existence of the Lupin Rangers is just sort of a justification for that. Like, not everyone can trust the police, so here's some cool criminals.
Mm-hmm.
We here at Toei don't endorse the cool crime of robbery.
And, like, I guess that gets to Keiichiro, because, like, by the second scene, he's like, you're right. Not everyone can trust police, so me being a police officer was a bad idea. I'm gonna resign.
I'll stop being a cop if I can help specifically you with your problems.
God. It's one of those lines of, like, I'm sure a lot of people saw a line like that coming, but Jesus Christ, what a line.
God. I forget, has Keiichiro been at the top of my list before? I know he's been high up, because I really liked his characterization for, like, the back half of this show, but...
I'm very sure that he's been number one on your list at least at some point.
Yeah, so fucking guess how mine's gonna end up on the last episode.
And also just his scream of anguish.
Yep.
As he rushes off to do the right thing.
But it's not the right thing he wants to do in this moment.
Mm-hmm. God, what an incredible character arc. Like, there's too many good things for me to do, and I can't do all of them.
Yeah, I really didn't expect him to grow on me this much.
I know, right? No one did. Like, I don't think people really hated him at first, but, like, he wasn't anyone's favorite in the first episode.
Yeah, he's the angry cop. He's amusing, but, like, he's not my favorite.
Yeah, somebody just stop being angry.
Yeah, like, the first half of the series, though, is just him remembering why he became a cop in the first place, and then slowly and steadily improving on himself as a person.
It's wild. Character development. My children's show?
It's more likely than you think.
It's actually less likely than you think.
It's slowly becoming more common.
Yeah.
We're starting to get more shows that aren't just status quo all the time.
Mm-hmm.
What else?
But yeah, I'm mostly just, in awe of this episode.
It's so good. Just, man. Yeah, everybody's on the same page now, and that information definitely hits the Lupin Rangers harder, because, like, when the Pat Rangers learn, oh yeah, it's Zamigo who caused the mass disappearances.
Yeah.
So, like, they've got a little more beef with Zamigo now, but that's just about it.
Mm-hmm. I do feel like these last 3 episodes were, like, almost conceived as, like, a movie to end the series. Kind of like what Avatar did.
Yeah.
It doesn't work quite as well as Avatar. It never does. But
And Jackpot Striker refused to allow another movie to be made without him, so just had to be 3 episodes. But yeah, so basically, it's also a good episode for just Zamigo and Destra establishing themselves. Like, more so, because, they're the same. They're just reminding the audience and all the players involved what they do. Zamigo is a fucker, and so now he has cards to play, that being the Lupin Rangers' loved ones, and Destra's just really destructive.
Mm-hmm.
Do I have anything else to go off of on the Red conversations? Just other than Kaichiro tearing my heart out by just looking so fucking sad.
Yeah. I think
I'll
you mentioned just
Kosei Yuki's a really good actor.
Yeah, just the second that Kairi speaks, Keiichiro immediately looks sad. But yeah, I think that does it for this episode.
Other than predictions.
Ah, you have a prediction.
Okay, so...
Do you want to amend your first prediction?
Yeah, so, first things first, Zamigo, versus Degranio, vis-a-vis, who's going to live. Did make that prediction, before I knew that Degranio just had capacity for every power. So, they're both major threats in their own way, and I feel like they've got, like, pretty equal grounds with both teams in terms of being a threat. I still feel like one of them's going to die first, though, just because, God, it's really hard to imagine both of them being fought at once.
Yeah, that's just a fair point.
How? I feel like it might be Degranio, though, again, it's hard to tell. Like, the previews featured Zamigo a lot, but also, looks like Zamigo's gonna get a few victories. Which brings me to my next point. Next episode, the Lupin Rangers fucking die. It's called Eternal Adieu, and we see Yellow and Blue get frozen. So, and also, one of the lines that Kairi says during the preview is, "The safety of the world's in your hands." So, they're gonna beef it, so I think the last episode's gonna start very Pat Rangers heavy, despite, everyone saying there's a Lupin bias.
Uh-huh.
I also ended up thinking of the worst case scenario today, in which the statement I made before is literal, and they do just actually fucking die. The collection has to be destroyed because they have to defeat Degranio, but can't steal the treasure back. And they end up saving the Lupin's loved ones, but then the actual Lupins are dead. Now, I'm just throwing that out there so I can be wrong about it. That's too depressing to actually happen. Although if it does happen, I can say fuck you, Toei.
So,
how dare you?
Here's another worst case scenario.
Mm-hmm.
Lupin Rangers die. Their loved ones also die. And now the police have to decide which group to bring back.
God.
I don't know how the limits would work like that, but just go with it.
Mm-hmm.
Because here's the thing. No matter who you bring back, they're gonna be fucking pissed.
Yeah.
What if, like, let's bring back Aya, Kyrie's brother, and Umika. Let's mix and match a little bit just to really fuck with them.
But anyway, yeah, next episode, Eternal Adieu, will probably be super Lupin heavy, and then they're just gonna fucking end up beefing it by the end. But I don't feel like they're going to actually die just because, like, Zamigo freezes yellow and blue in the preview, so, like, chances are he survives. And as I said before, I can't imagine Zamigo and Degranio being fought at the same time. I can't imagine the Pat Rangers soloing the both of them.
So wait, just to be clear, who do you think is going to be the final boss right now?
Like, if it's going to be one of them, Degranio.
Okay. That's what I wrote, but hearing you talk, I wasn't sure anymore.
Yeah, so if there's only going to be one of them, Degranio, but also, if Zamigo gets a lot of success in the next episode, and it doesn't end with Red, like, suicide shotting him out, then it's both of them. Alright, well, I guess that's it, so let's do the closing stuff so we can watch one episode, and then I'm gonna be foaming at the mouth about the last episode for the next week.
Uh-huh. Yep, that does it for this episode. If you want to follow us on Twitter, we are at LRVSPR, Fafner's FFMasamune. If you want to email us, you can email us at LupinRecap via PatReview@gmail.com, and we will see you in the next episode. Adieu.
Adieu. But, like, eternally this time.